additional muscles.
Did they come in a box?
Ah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could begin to take your seats, please. We're about ready to start our Hall of Fame presentation. Okay, guys, we're about 2 minutes away from starting our Hall of Fame presentations. So please take your seats and get your drinks. Okay, please welcome to the stage tonight's host, a three-time Olympian, class of 2020 member of the USA Fencing Hall of Fame, and chair of the USA Fencing Hall of Fame Committee, Steve Momondo.
Let me give it a moment for the old guys to sit down. Hello and welcome to the induction of the Hall of Fame class of 2024, everyone except Marty Lang. A class that includes 2 Olympic coaches, 1 Paralympian, 4 Olympians, 2 of which served in World War II and are part of the greatest generation. Many would observe that becoming an Olympian is not only one of the greatest achievements in sport, but also one of the greatest honors for our nation. There will be 274 men and 313 women in Paris, 587 athletes representing a nation with a population of 342 million. I'm not good at percentages, but I think it would be easier to make the Major League Baseball or the NFL than to be going to the Olympics for the United States. Induction into the Hall of Fame is the highest honor that an athlete, coach, or contributor can receive from United States fencing. There are a lot of multiple Olympians and scores of one-time Olympians that most likely will never enter the Hall of Fame. Between 1978 and 1996, the Hall of Fame was disbanded. Including the lost year of COVID, we lost 19 years of potential Hall of Famers. Going forward, we need all of U.S. fencing's help. We need accurate information and records. We need contact with those members that have drifted away. The information is not totally lost. It's in the Museum of Fencing that our Andy Shaw preserves and protects, and Doug Nichols out on the West Coast. It's in U.S. Fencing archives and in the clubs and university records. But most of all, the really rare stuff is in award cases, closets, and shoe boxes of those past athletes who have lost contact with us. We need them back. We need them for this, and hey, as a side benefit, they may donate and gift their estates to fencing. Hey, I know this because I'm potentially one of them. Finally, we would also like to take a moment to honor those members of the Hall of Fame who have recently left us. Larry Anastasi, Sam Sharis, Emmett Kaidanov, and Bill Wright. I know them all, and they've affected my life one way or the other. Their names are forever linked to our sport, and I'd like to take a moment of silence together in their memory. With that, I'll leave you with your dinner, and we'll see you after these commercials from our sponsors.
Which is a salad, by the way.
So who's going to do it then?
Nobody.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start our induction ceremonies. Tonight, we celebrate the latest chapter in the storied history of fencing in the United States of America. This is a story that's unfolded at local fencing clubs, regional and national tournaments, and of course, the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Ever since the first class was inducted in 1963, the USA Fencing Hall of Fame has been our community's way to celebrate the inspiring, remarkable characters in the story. These individuals join a select number of around 200 Hall of Fame members who have made outstanding contributions to this Olympic and Paralympic sport. Tonight's first inductee is a legendary coach, making resounding lifetime contributions to fencing, particularly in the New York City area. To induct him, please welcome 2025 future Hall of Fame inductee, Jeff Pinkasov.
I can see. The right place at the right time. The right place at the right time. On January 11th, 1977, Simeon, Elizabeth, and Misha Pinkasov arrived in New York City. Simon left the former Soviet Union to escape anti-Semitic quota systems and to give his son the opportunity for a better life in the United States. 1 month later, Simon, he wanted to be known by his Americanized name, was in the right place at the right time. He saw a woman carrying a fencing bag through Grand Central Station. With a marginal command of English, he approached her and through hand gestures and a little French, was able to tell Diane Reckling of the Fencers Club that he was a fencing coach. Diane suggested that Simon go to the Fencers Club, then located at 38th and Madison on the second floor of the Lancaster Hotel. Simon made his way to the club and met Paul Apostle and asked if there was an opening for a coach. Paul didn't think so, but referred Simon to Jamie Melcher, who was a board member at the time. Simon was told there was an opening for 1 day a week, but they wanted to see him give lessons and fence someone first. First, he gave lessons to Nelda Latham, Eric Rosenberg, and of all people, Olympic bronze medalist Albie Axelrod. By chance, I was the person Simon was asked to fence. Back there, most of the bouting was dry. We didn't have much electric at the club. More on that later. It became apparent to me right away that no matter how many times I thought I hit Simon, he wasn't acknowledging. At first, I thought this was maybe due to Simon's lack of English, but then I realized it didn't have to speak English to put your hand up. While it was a little frustrating to score 0 touches in 20 minutes, I realized that Simon was auditioning for a job. After the 3 lessons and 20-minute shutout, our great coach, Chaba Eltesh, was asked what he thought about the Fencers Club hiring Simon. Without hesitation, Chaba said, "Don't let him go and hire him full-time." So from a serendipitous meeting at Grand Central Station, Simon became the foil club coach of what was then the preeminent foil club in the country.
The scent in the room.
The right club. There's more, Marty. Fencing clubs and training in the United States in the late 70s was completely different from what it is today. And in New York City, there were only a handful of clubs: Sal Santelli, the New York Athletic Club, the Turn Verine, and the Fencers Club. The Fencers Club was loaded with foil fencers, as opposed to loaded foil fencers at the table. And unfortunately, due to the untimely death of our longtime coach, Michelle Allo, in 1974, we had not found a full-time replacement. Simon was who we needed, and a 2-decade love fest was born. I won't provide a complete accounting of Simon's students' accomplishments, but I just want to give you a flavor of how much impact he made during his era. Throughout the 80s and early 90s, the Fencers Club won the men's and women's foil championships 16 times. That's when it meant something. And Simon had students on every Olympic, Pan Am, World University, and Maccabea team during that time. In 1984, Simon had 4 men vying for the Olympic team. Michael McKahey, take a bow, Michael. Michael's here tonight. and Peter Lewison made it, but the late Jack Tahasic was first alternate, and I was third alternate. On the women's side, Sharon Montplaisir made it, and Michelle Verhav was very close. When you went to a NAC in the 32, you'd regularly have 8 to 12 Fencers Club foilists in there. That's just the way it was back then. We didn't have a million clubs all over the place. While the FC was the right club for Simon, the training conditions back in '84 were horrible. We would bout on half-length strips. Most of it was dry without electrical equipment. Olympic contenders had to wade through septuagenarians and much lower-ranked fencers, fighting for position to fence 10 bouts a night. But it got worse. At the Fencers Club, we were entitled to 3 lessons a week of 8 minutes each. So that meant training for the Olympic team. I got an aggregate of 24 minutes of lessons a week. And in spite of these terrible conditions, Simon's fencers made it to the pinnacle in this country. And I'd like when Simon comes up to maybe explain to us how under such horrible conditions this was able to happen. The right stuff. In 1983, after Princeton's longtime coach Stan Seja passed away, Simon was offered the job. Now let's be very clear. An Ivy League head coaching job is not only a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it's often a lifetime position. Now, while Simon had recently earned his physical therapy degree from NYU, working 9 to 5 there, studying 9 to 5, and then coming home at 11 o'clock at night after giving lessons, and fencing was no longer his primary source of income, the Princeton gig would have made for a really coveted career move. While Simon turned it down and showed why he's made of the right stuff, I asked him about this recently, and his explanation was simple. The club was good to me. I was loyal to the end. I couldn't do this to my students trying to make the '84 Olympic team. And most of all, I could not do this to the high school kids trying to get into a good university. I simply could not abandon them. And that's what Simon is made of. Big deal. Whenever you had a great result, and proudly told Simon, he had this odd way of downplaying it sarcastically, saying, big deal. Hey, Simon, I won the Met Open and earned my A. Big deal. Hey, Simon, I made the world in Pan Am team. Big deal. Hey, Simon, I got the gold medal at the Maccabee Games. Big deal. You were supposed to win. Hey, Simon, the farewell team won the national championship for the 7th time in 10 years, Marty. Big deal, big deal. I knew you were going to win. So I was flummoxed. So I finally said, hey, Simon, I finally beat Marty Lang for the first time in my career. And he goes, really, Jeff? That is a big deal. Candidly, we all made fun of Simon's quirky, big deal mantra, and we never really understood it. And after I spoke with Simon recently in preparation for this, I finally understood why he underplayed our accomplishments on the strip. He said, my goal as a coach was to help students in life. To me, that meant never accepting complacency. I wanted every student to keep striving for more and challenge themselves to push the envelope and realize their fullest potential. In 1984, with all of us fighting for that Olympic team, there was a schism at the club, the haves and the have-nots. Some people felt they were second-class citizens. And Simon asked for us to call for a dinner to try to overcome this. Simon said, and believe me, it was not a love fest at the Fencers Club that night. This dinner is not to celebrate those who made the team. Rather, I want to salute everyone here who did not make the team. Without your tenacity, hard work, and sacrifice, none of you would be on the team. You are as much responsible for the successes as they are. So I want to acknowledge and express my gratitude for what we did as a club together. And that broke the ice. And that broke the ice, brought us back together. And that's why Simon Pinkasov we always looked at him as our leader, both on and off the strip. It is truly an honor and a very big deal for me to introduce my coach, mentor, and dear friend, Simon Pinkasov.
Thank you very much. Whatever Jeff said, it's true. It did happen to me. It used to be a Pan American building. Now it's MetLife in New York, when I met that young woman with the fencing bag. And then everything started from that. But first of all, I would like to thank for this nomination. But most important thing for me to be here is to meet some of people I used to work and I haven't seen for a long time. Sally Pichinski, Mary Lenk, Neil Coyne, Michael McCahey, and many other people. I just maybe missing somebody. For me to see you here and to remembering me is a big deal indeed. Now, a little bit about the coaching job. It developed over the years. It's today, we don't leave home without taking our cell phones with us. But a few hundred years ago, there was another time when people wouldn't leave home without a sword, dagger for security and protection. And it was so widespread that there was a need to have a coaches who would teach regular people how to use the weapons. So that's how the fencing coach job was created at that time, a few hundred years ago. But today coaching job is a little bit different. It used to be coach should develop certain skills and that's it. Now it's not enough. Now we understand not everybody who comes to take fencing will become a champion. But what is it to be a champion? Is it winning a medal, a title? In my opinion, it's not. In my opinion, everybody has a potential. And the goal of every athlete, and fencers including, to live up to his or her potentials. And the coach's main job is to create environment when their students can live up to their potential. And if that happens, everybody must be happy. So how does coach know he did a good job? It's very simple. When your students are not your students anymore, and they go on with their lives, and they live in distant places, not to say distant places, and they still trying to be in touch with you, and they still calling you, and they still inquiring how you're doing. If that is happening, then coach can say, he did a good job. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is the coach of one of the most impactful clubs in America, responsible for one of the fastest growing states in America, the state of Texas. Please welcome to introduce him, his outstanding student, Louis Weiss.
Hi, everyone. My name is Louis Weiss. I'm one of Andre's earliest students in America. So I'm here today to help introduce him into the Hall of Fame. Today, I'd like to share with you all what makes Andre special to me and the qualities that I and his other students see in Andre that have deeply impacted all of us and what we believe has made him so successful. and why he's more than deserving of being inducted into the 2024 Hall of Fame. The first quality I noticed about Andre is that Andre is nice, patient, and most importantly, funny. So, when I was around 13 years old, I was at a different club at the time and I was having poor fencing results. After one of the knocks that I didn't do very well, I decided between me and my dad that we were going to switch to Alliance. Only one problem. We thought Andre was the scariest guy ever. We didn't want to go. We were scared. We didn't know what to do. But one of my other teammates, Anna Van Brummen, had just switched, and her dad was telling us how great Andre was and how great the club was. So we decided to give it a try. So my first memory of Andre ever, we come to his first main location on Directors Row in Houston, Texas, sit in this old office. There's an old computer in there, and we sit down and start talking. And my dad asked the question to Andre, so why do you never smile at tournaments? And in Andre's words, he goes, no, because at tournaments, I am serious. Ha 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 ha, huge laugh. And we're and we're like, oh my God, okay, this guy's okay. I think we're gonna make it. So in the spirit of Andre, I'd like to share some of his coaching advice we, his students, have received over the years. I think it will help inform us as to Andre's character. Bad fencers never sweat. If you're fencing and you're not sweating, stop the bout and check your pulse, because maybe you're dead. Andre, what's the plan for today? No, the plan is to win. The plan is always to win. It's like Napoleon said. What's the plan? To win. Simple. Andre, I haven't gotten enough sleep lately, so I'm crashing right now. Well, as a coach, I really don't care, but as a person, I have some sympathy. So, contrary to popular belief, Andre is super nice, extremely patient, and most importantly, super funny. And I don't see him on a daily basis anymore, but I always look forward to seeing Andre at tournaments so we can make jokes about whatever is going on in the fencing world at the time. The second quality I noticed about Andre that I think sets him apart from a lot of others is Andre solves problems very creatively and is an outside the box thinker. Where most coaches see a fencer who is too short, too weak, or his technique is too bad, they go, this person will never be a good fencer. Andre goes, no, it's easy, just switch him to French grip, it will be fine. Andre started fencing in the Soviet Union at around 13 years old. He started because one of his classmates had started fencing and he noticed he was getting a lot of attention from girls. So, in typical Andre fashion, he decided to take up the sport. However, the coaches, he came at the very end. There was almost no coaches left, and he was forced into the last group with the last coach that would take him, who ended up being a very good coach in his own right. But unfortunately, that summer, they had a big summer camp in the Soviet Union. It was a really big deal to make it to those summer camps. And Andre's personality was a little too rambunctious and energetic for any coach to want to take him to that camp. So he didn't make it. I really got to him, and he started training actually on his own for months until he finally made it to the second camp. That's when Andre's journey with Soviet fencing began, and he realized that although the system was great for teaching technique and discipline, it was very, very rigid. And I think he felt like he just didn't fit in that system. So at 24 years old, Andre moved to Israel and he encountered kibbutz and community for the first time. And it really changed his perspective. And he thought, okay, I can take the technique and rigidity and discipline of what I learned in the Soviet Union and combine it to a more holistic approach where the person actually matters. The third quality I noticed in Andre that I think really has driven his success is Andre never gives up on anyone. He believes in the community at large. Over the years, Andre has produced and helped develop many incredible fencers that have brought amazing results to Team USA, including Anna Van Brummen, Olympian, and one of the only US women to win a Senior World Cup gold medal. Courtney and Kelly Hurley, multiple-time Olympians, and under Andre's guidance helped win the 2018 Senior World Team Championships for the USA. And most recently, Sam Imrek, Cadet World Champion, 2024 Junior World Cup Overall Champion, and most recently, the 2024 Pan American Zonal Champion. All of these incredible fencers I just mentioned have experienced unique and challenging circumstances that would have caused most coaches to overlook or give up on them. I've watched over the years Andre deal with some of the most difficult and stressful cases, ranging from issues with fencers and their parents to managing the highest level of fencing politics in the US. And where most people would have given up, yielded to an idea they did not believe in, or stopped working with a fencer or their parent for being too difficult, Andre did not. Even if he couldn't see the end result, he believed that it is better to keep pushing for a greater good of the community at large and to keep people inside a community that he knows over time has the power to change people and their lives for the better. The last quality I'll discuss is Andre believes in something greater than himself. When he was coming up with the name for Alliance, he's told me this story many, many times, he said he had the option to name it after himself. Some coaches name it after themselves. And he thought that wasn't going to be able to capture the vision he had in mind. However, he had another unique problem. At the time, he needed to be first in the phone book and on Google search results. So the easiest way to be number one in the phone book is to start your club with the letter A. So he started looking through all these words, all these things, and he came up with the term alliance, which in French means alliance. I think it perfectly captured his vision. Andre had a vision for a fencing academy, even in the early stages, that would be more far-reaching than just a single person, more far-reaching than even just himself. I believe that his experience and belief in community led him to believe in a vision much bigger than just himself, and that the academy would allow many of his students to blossom to their fullest potential. In his own words, Andre would say, "I'm a pessimist. Do you know what the pessimist is? A very well-informed optimist." When writing this speech, I went back through a lot of Andre's quotes that I and his other students have written down over the years. And interestingly enough, everyone has the same first quote at the top of their list. That I would like to share with you now. "Life is beautiful and full of surprises." Andre, that quote and the lessons you have taught me have gotten me through my darkest days and hardest times. And I know I speak for all of your students when I say that we are way better off to have had you in our lives than without you. I'm deeply grateful to you forever. It would be just our luck that the funniest and most talented fencing coach in the entire world would end up teaching in Houston, Texas, of all places. And I'm sure that none of us are surprised that you made it this far. We love you so much, and best of luck to all your future conquests. Andre, welcome to the Hall of Fame. I'd like to give the stage to Andre. Thank you so much for having me, everyone.
Can you hear me? No. Okay, now first of all, where do I speak? This one? Yes? Okay. First of all, Louis, thank you very much for stealing my speech. You said so many things about me, and I learned actually so many things about myself. Very few things remain, here I would like to share with you. With some corrections, Yes, when I started fencing in Soviet Union back in the days, I was not taken to that camp, not because they didn't have place, because the coach told me I have no potential. I was like, okay, it's like typical Soviet Union, it's okay, but I was thinking much better about myself and saying, you know what, I do believe I have potential. And Soviet Union fencing did some good and bad to me. The good thing, I learned fencing. I got in love with the sport. Don't want to talk about bad things, but actually, these bad things turned to be good things, because it drove me out of Soviet Union, and this is how I started my career. And at some point, I didn't want to actually continue my fencing career because, like I said, the training was so intensive, especially on the Soviet Union circles with the national team. And I, at some point, I start not hate fencing, but I kind of feel, you know what, it's not even too stressful, but I kind of, it's like a constant pain like job. You know, you have to perform, you have to perform, you have to get the results. Fortunately enough, I didn't make it to the Soviet Union team, so I had to leave and I end up in Israel. And in the beginning, I didn't even think about fencing because of the trauma I got, you know, from my previous fencing experience. And what happened is like mentioned, you know, I was working on so many different jobs. I was like a tractor driver, you know, like in the kibbutz. I was like, I was doing dishes, and a lot of like I was working at the chicken farm, and so I have, you know, now I actually, thanks to that experience, I know if I quit fencing, I have so many jobs. I know, you know, like that I actually can, I will not get lost, you know. And then, so what happened next is at some point I was tired to do dishes at restaurants, you know, and I decided, you know what, how about like maybe fencing coach? So I found a club, I came to the club and they look at me, I was 24 at that time. And they said, you know what, you're a good fencer, you can fence. Yes, but you know, I didn't have any equipment, I didn't have any, like nothing, you know. And I didn't took my equipment with me. When look, if I would take my Soviet Union equipment, you know, to Israel, I mean, probably they will throw me out, you know. So how bad it was. And then, so at some point, and I know they say, okay, you know what, a month from now, the Soviet Union, Israeli championships coming up. And I like, okay, so how do I train? And like, you know, this old Rambo movies, you know, I took like some sticks, you know, stones, and I was in the woods. I was doing some footwork and, you know, exercises. I was touching the trees, you know, was just to get ready. I didn't have anything. It's a true story. I'm not making this up, really. And so what happened is I work on the bakery, and that's another job of mine, bakery, making bread, you know. And then so basically what happened is like I finished my shift at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at 9, the tournament started. So I took a bus, came to the tournament, and I said, where do my equipment? So some of the clubs, they brought fencing equipment. I took like, you know, the first time. And, but, you know, challenges like my long-time student Louis said, kind of make me stronger. And I end up winning that championships, like first place. And they, oh, okay, you can now travel for Israeli team. And I was very happy because this first time in my life I start competing internationally. And then I started after that. And actually, what Israel did to me brought back my love to fencing. And then about 10 years later, I was invited here in Houston to run some camps, and I got in love, you know, with Texas, you know, the same warm, sunny weather. And what I like the most is the opportunity. It was a huge, huge field that, you know, in fencing that I believe I could do something for me. It was another challenge, you know. In that time, the Houston scene was, yeah, they had some fencers, but they didn't have many high-level AP fencers at all. And I accepted in my heart like this challenge and said, you know what, I can do something there. And I started working hard a lot of years. And what happened is that, you know, after couple years, I became a national coach, and now today I'm in the Hall of Fame here. And I want to thank this country, United States of America, for giving me this opportunity. But I deeply believe no other country in the world I could achieve what I so far achieved here. And I'm very thankful to these opportunities. And what actually American fencing did to me is that, I all of a sudden I saw that everyone, like in Soviet Union, even in Israel, it's more like a competitive side of fencing. But here I saw that, we have like 70 years old, 50 years old, 6 years old, 5 years old, like coming like the fencing, and everybody want to learn. It doesn't matter the size. Some of them chubby, some of them skinny, some of them tall, some of them short, and they want to learn fencing. And back in the days, like many coaches would say, really, look at yourself. But not in the United States. And I adopted this philosophy it was so welcome for my character, and I said, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to teach people who want to learn fencing. And so it brought me United States, bring me back love to the sport. Now, like somebody said, and finally, yes, I worked on many other jobs, like I mentioned, besides like, all these, chicken farms and bakery. My other education was like, I was like a biochemistry engineer working in the lab, but fencing was always my hobby. And at some point I decided, you know what, I want to make it a job. Like somebody said, make your hobby a job and you will never work in your life. And this is what I experience right now. The other thing I wanted to say is that all this success was mentioned here, and it's not like some mentioned people, it's like big deal. I just doing my job. I really believe this. It's not a big deal, but all the success came. I believe that Isaac Newton said one time that I was looking farther because I was standing on the shoulders of giants. My giants is my students, my fellow coaches, my family, and I believe without the support, I would never achieve what I achieved. As we speak, I'm here, my coach is working there. Out of 78 teams at the team competition today, the Alliance team just got gold medal in Division 1 tournament, which is a very nice news. And this just shows, that it's not only me, it's not me, it's my crew, this is my team that make me personally so successful. I heard before here, every story was involved a girl. I have a girl in my life as well. This is my wife. And my wife suffered so much through this development of the club. Can you imagine to build a club from the scratch with all this traveling? But she had so much support I had from my wife and from my family. And I think biggest part of this success goes to her. Thank you very much, Natasha. And thank you very much to USA Fencing. Thank you very much to United States of America for this opportunity. I would not make it without all this support. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Gaber and Simon Pinkasov, our coach inductees into the Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is a Paralympian who left a legacy from the unlikely beginnings of the great state of Mississippi, one that's still felt today. Introduce him, please welcome his longtime friend, training partner, a Paralympian, Ryan Step.
Can you still see me good? Because my wife is watching from home. I'm gonna tell you what. Talk about a Mississippi, Louisiana woman getting angry. She don't see her man. Just telling you. You think sword fighting is good? I'll tell you what. Get an angry Southern woman after you, it's game over.
Just sit a little bit
look.
back so you're pointing towards the
Okay.
microphone.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. 'Cause
You
it
me
goes
just
on
hold,
live
you me to
stream.
hold them both?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. We good now?
Yep.
Okay. And everybody can hear me good? Okay, awesome. I just want everybody to know, as far as everybody that's spoken so far and everybody that's gonna speak after me, I'm not nearly as smart or articulate. I just got really good at stabbing people for a while. So that's what I always used to tell reporters. Anytime they'd ask me or Joey, you know, how we kind of got into it, we always would tell them, anytime you can stab somebody and not get in trouble, you're in the right sport. And so that's what we would always tell people. But Joey and I had such an amazing journey together. We really did. When I was 18 years old, I was in a car accident, and that's how I got into the wheelchair. I ended up shattering two vertebrae. It's the only bones I've ever broken in my body. Only time I've ever been injured in anything. And went to the Methodist Rehabilitation Center after my surgery to get all the rods and screws and everything put in there. And the most amazing thing happened to me that changed my life forever. The first person I met when I was in the hospital was Joey Brinson. And that's who we're talking about today. He came in and I was thinking about getting my hair cut, but this is vintage Joey right here. So just soak it in. So his family's over here. They all know this is vintage Joey right here. So I definitely decided to go ahead and let it hang. But I met him and it completely changed my life. I was an 18-year-old kid. I had no idea, no hope, no real vision or anything. Sitting in the hospital, I was already committed to go play football. I played free safety. I know that you can't tell, but I'm over 6 foot tall and I was pretty fast, but and pretty talented. But then this kind of course adjustment happened, and I'm just laying in the hospital bed. I see Joey, and he comes in. He's got these big mud tires on, and he's got his long hair, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing? Are you gonna get out of the bed, or like, I'm trying to show you my truck?" I'm like, "I don't know who you are, you crazy hippie guy. I just, like, I can't move. I can't move." And so so everything Joey did, he said he's 10 years ahead of me because he's 10 years older than me. He got in his wreck 10 years ahead of me. We're from the same town. So everything he did 10 years before me. Didn't get fencing quite 10 years before me, but so that was the start of our relationship. Was he helped me realize that life was not over after your injury. Life continues. There's so much that you can do with life, and there's so much still that you can still give. And he was probably the biggest giver that I'll ever meet. And there's so many stories through that. But Joey and I didn't start out with fencing. We tried a few different sports starting out. Joey, most of you probably do not know, unless you're at table 4, that Joey's first bout with the Paralympics, he was on the reserve team in 2008 for the sled hockey team. Also funny, which that wasn't funny, that's a serious thing, but also funny, Joey didn't quite get to go as a reserve because his good old buddy, Ryan, who was also his great competitor friend, that we were practicing, and I ran my sled up on top of his sled on the ice rink and broke his leg. So it's really a funny story because, you know, we don't feel our legs. It didn't hurt. There's no pain here in the game, you know? There's no pain. So we go back to my house after practice. Joey notoriously always wore shorts. I don't know why. I never wear shorts ever. It's just a thing. Joey always had shorts on all the time, showing his little bird legs. But hey, look, he can't get me right now, so we're good. But no, we get back to my house. My mother's been an RN for like 40 years. We're laying on the couch, and I'm like, "Joey, you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." My mom, as soon as my mom sees it, you know, nurse mom, and you already got 2 kids in a wheelchair in your house, it's high alert. So she's like, Joey, it's time to go to the hospital. And I'm like, okay. And then Joey's like, nah, if it starts hurting tomorrow, Miss Lori, I'll go. Which obviously it's not going to. So, but anyway, so it swelled up the size of a beach ball. His mom saw it, swelled up the size of a beach ball the next day. He had to go. His whole leg was in a cast. He was really mad at me for like a year after that. So, but we got over it. We got past it. And as you know, you 2 guys talk about your start into fencing. It has something to do with a woman. Mine actually did as well. Not anything crazy. So what happened was I was doing disability counseling, and they found out I was a kind of an arrogant, young, athletic person. And this lady said, "I bet I can kick your butt in fencing." I'm paraphrasing. And I said, "I don't know who you are or what fencing is. I grew up on the bayous in Louisiana. I'm not losing." I didn't realize she was on Team USA at the time and had been fencing for years at this point. Needless to say, I did not go to work the next day. I called in sick, and from that point on, I pulled our local coach at that time, his name was David Williams. I pulled him aside, and I said, "Listen, I know you don't know who I am. I know you don't know me from Adam, but if you will just give me all of your free time, I'll take you everywhere." And it was crazy, but it actually did happen. We got to go on like over 40 trips out of the country. Joey was a part of every single one of those. Joey was there before I was there, and he was there after I was there. Joey put more bruises on my body. We broke each other's bones. We were iron sharpening iron, literally breaking each other's bones, and just blood and just nasty, epic fun. Because it's the true weapon. And you can say what you need. Hey, Tim, they got a rack over there. We can settle this. You know, I haven't fenced in a long time, but we can settle this, Tim. Even better. No, so Joey was a 4-time national champion. Joey competed in 2 different Paralympic games. He competed in the 2012 games, and he also competed in the 2016 games. One of the really cool things about Joey, and this will tell you a lot about who he was as a person, leading into 2012, we were pretty much given by our representative at the time, you absolutely have to win the zonal or you're not getting in. It's an automatic bid. If you don't get it, you're not getting in. So Joey was the only qualifier from the United States that ended up not winning the zonal. There wasn't even a saber zonal, and Joey made it to 2012 without even having the saber points allowed. He still qualified. He ended up qualifying again in 2016, and he would have made 2020, but there were some medical complications with several things that ended up happening with Joey, and sadly, he had passed away. He was one of the greatest people that I've ever known. He was more than a friend. We were the Bash brothers, and we really, wheelchair fencing for the United States at the time that we kind of took over was at a low point. It was at a really low point, and we came in on fire, and we just lit it up, and we hurt a lot more people than hurt us. I can promise you. There's this one guy, I won't say his name, Marco Sima from Italy. He dodged Joey in Sicily in 2011. at the World Championship, so he skipped out on that. And I'm glad that Sean Shoemate's not in here anymore, so I can tell the story. So he skipped out on the pools in Epee, and it put Joey's pool one short of everyone else. And so everybody knows kind of how it works with your pools. It's all about numbers. It's all about wins, losses, plus, minus, all that stuff. So he had one less because he skipped out. Well, guess what? Your boy saw in 2013 Montreal, and I almost got thrown out of the World Cup. Because in that pool bout, I broke 2 different epee tips on that guy's wrist. But I still won 5-0, so took the silver medal at that World Cup. But I got in a lot of trouble for that. But here's the deal. You don't mess with the boys. Okay? I stood up for Joey then. I stand up for him now. I love him. I really do. I'm so incredibly thankful for your son. He meant so much to me. He meant so much to this sport for so many of the people. He was a mentor. He was a student. And he was a brother for so many people for over 10, 12 years. And just a fierce competitor. And so I'm so thankful to be up here to celebrate Joey's life, celebrate everything that he stood for, because he was twice the competitor and the man that a lot of us could ever be. And so I'm very thankful for you guys, and thankful to be here, and really thankful for you guys for allowing me to speak on his behalf.
Okay, our next inductee is a 3-time Olympian and legacy builder at West Point. To Houston, please welcome USA Fencing official historian and curator of the Museum of American Fencing, the one and only Andy Shaw.
What do we got this one? Where's this?
All right, they're all set. We're okay. So, I've got tiny pictures. So, Nat Lubell, okay? I saw an article that said his friends called him Nate. Sorry. That's that disinformation from some countries. Nat Lubell, okay? So, Nat was born in 1916. He lived to be 90 years old in 2006. When the Depression hit, he hit high school. And the high school he went to had only one sport, and it was fencing. Now, James Montague was the coach at this high school in New York, and they would push all the tables aside, Nat said, and they would fence in the cafeteria. Townsend Harris High School. And he didn't know it at the time that James Montague was one of the greatest fencers in England who was coaching for free, basically, at the high school. Nat got real good. So did the other kids. And then he went to City College of New York. When he went to City College, Joseph Vince was the coach there. And his teammates at the time, one of them was Cornell Wilde. Now, some of you, of course, couldn't care less about Cornell Wilde. And maybe 10 people here have heard of the movie actor named Cornell Wilde. And once in a while, people say, oh, yeah, Cornell Wilde was an Olympian. No. But he did fence in the IFAs, the Intercollegiate Fencing Association Championships on the B Strip. He was a good fencer. So I've got a picture from there's a old newspaper called the Herald Tribune. And this is Nat with Cornell Wilde and another one of his friends on the team, Emil Goldstein. Emil Goldstein. Now, another teammate from Nat Lubell at City College was a guy named Max Goldstein. A lot of Goldsteins there. Not to be confused with Ralph Goldstein. Does anyone know who Max Goldstein is? He changed his name. You see, Joseph Vince, when he graduated, he couldn't get a job. People said, sorry, no Jews, sorry. So Joseph Vince said, look, I changed my name. Why don't you change your name to something really good? Forget the Max thing. Mac. And then get rid of the Goldstein crap, he said. How about something Irish? So, Garrett, good. And he was immediately hired by the University of Illinois. Okay. So that's one of his teammates. Now, Nat Lubell was a foil fencer, but he was a lefty, and nobody wanted to fence these stupid lefties, you know? So people just didn't want to bother fencing him. Usually they just go, let's not fence him, let's fence the righties. Yeah, so that was really good for Nat. So, you know, after World War, I'm going to say, all right, we'll give you a couple of situations. 1948, he graduates college, Nat Lubell does. He goes working for his father's clothing company, the Lubell Brothers, in the garment district. And he's at the Fencers Club now, fencing there and training. 1948 Nationals. Some of you may or may not know that every couple of years they change how the Nationals is formatted. Okay, 10 touch TEs, women 8. All right, no 15 touch. Oh, no pools. So they decided in 1948 that top 15 people will have a final pool of the top 15 guys, 5 touches each, 14 bouts for each of them. That'll be fun. 10 Olympians were in this final. Nat wins it 13-1 against these guys. And then he makes the Olympic team. All right, they took 4th in the Olympics. Not bad for American foil men who work in the shirt making companies and the other things, whatever they're all doing. And they usually out of shape. Other countries were like fit. Our men were like eating. You know? Okay. So 1948, he wins nationals in the Olympics. 1952. I had a lot of pictures really that didn't make it here, but you can pretend that I had 100 pictures lined up all over fencing history, but something happened. It's that those international people trying to ruin America. So here's the 52 Olympic team. I know the picture's too small. And of these people, this is the foil team. Now, you can see Hal Goldsmith over here, very cute Hal Goldsmith, City College of New York. Oh, look, Jeff Buchanan's father, Danny Buchanan, 4-time Olympian, 4-time national champion. City College of New York. Oh, look, Nat Lubell, City College of New York. Oh, look, Albie Axelrod, City College of New York, 5th in the world, bronze medalist 1960, numerous titles. Oh, look, Silvio Giulia Giolito, NYU. And then we have Byron Krieger. And of course, he was from Wayne State, an Olympian in foil from Detroit. Shocking, just shocking. So there's the foil team, all right? Mostly City College. 1956. All right, I'm going too fast. Now, an important moment. You know that World War II, I tell kids in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I live, I'll say, what happened in the 1930s and 40s? And I'll go, I don't know. How about 1918? They don't know? Okay, so I'll go World War II. All right, so what happens here is this. Nat Lubell was on the Olympic team, and it looked like it was never going to be another Olympics. 1940, canceled. 1944, canceled. It didn't look like London was ever going to get the 1948 Olympics. It was bombed. So they figured, let's make a Pan Am Games. And because we'll do the countries, the people here without the war. Forget those people over there. We'll get together. So all the countries got together, but they argued about everything. I know you're shocked to hear that people just won't agree. Year after year, they couldn't make the rules for the Pan Am team. But finally, the Olympics has already happened in London, 1948. And they're still arguing about the Pan Am Games. So finally, we make it to the 1951, the first Pan Am Games. And there's going to be men's foil, men's épée, men's saber, team and individual. The U.S. sends 8 men. What are they thinking? So Nat goes, he fences foil. The only 8 men. They said, Nat, why don't you fence saber and épée too? He goes, I don't know how to fence saber and épée. I've just played around with it once in a while. They go, but you love winning and you're lefty. Do it, do it. So he gets the gold medal in the team event. He helps us to win the saber and the épée. The Argentinians killed us in foil. Sorry. Anyway, so he ends up getting all these medals. His record was 47-12. 1956 Olympics, the team is 4th. Now that's it for his fencing career. 3-time Olympian, national champion. And the final thing I want to say about him is this. In the 1930s, he and another man both fell in love with this gorgeous, wonderful woman fencer who was a champion. Both these men lived in New York and New Jersey area, and so did she. And they were both in love with her, and they both wanted to marry her. She said yes to the other guy. Nat didn't get to be with her, but he was in love with her his whole life. And he never married, and he never had children. And she ended up dying when he was 80. And I would call him Nancy Anderson. Doesn't matter. If you know who she is, you know who she is. She would call me up and go, call Nat, he's feeling really low, really low. And in his mid and late 80s, I'd call him up and try to cheer him up. It didn't work. I could cheer up some people. He didn't care that I called him up. I'm sorry. I did my best. But anyway, he was always in love with that woman. I'm not going to say her name. But he was always in love with that woman, and he never was with her. And that was one of the things about Nat Lubell. And we want to welcome him into the Hall of Fame of U.S. fencing. Thank you.
Our next inductee is also a 3-time Olympian in 2 weapons, an NCAA champion, and is a pivotal figure in history of fencing at the New York Fencers Club. To introduce him, welcome back to the stage, Olympian Steve Mondo.
Andy Shaw, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be here all evening. Hal Goldsmith was born in Germany in 1930, and him and his family fled Germany in 1938. Most of you know why. There's some of the dates that Andy was talking about. They settled in Manhattan. He was a lifetime member of the Fencers Club, who won NCAAs, U.S. Nationals, Pan Am Games, and of course was a 3-time Olympian. In the 1956 Olympics, he was part of an all-Jewish foil team that includes future Olympic bronze medals, Albie Axelrod, Hall of Fame, Dan Buchans, that's Jeff's dad, Hall of Fame Nat Lubell, and Brian Krieger. By the way, this is one of the guys I was talking about that's a 2-time Olympian that hasn't been in the Hall of Fame yet. Outside of Israel, I do not think there's been another all-Jewish team to participate in the Olympics in any sport. In 1952, he was elected as Athlete of the Year for CCNY. His son, Bob, asked him, Dad, how did you get elected as Athlete of the Year, CCNY? CCNY just won the NCAA basketball championships. And basketball is kind of big. Well, apparently CCNY basketball had this little trouble with points. They would shave them here and there and otherwhere. And as Marty Lang will be pretty soon, they all ended up in jail, and he ended up Athlete of the Year. He was married to Delreen and had two sons, John and Bob. And Bob is here this evening to accept for his dad.
Hi, everyone. I have to say I'm Bob Goldsmith. It's really an honor to be here. I'd say it's a lot more emotional than I expected it to be, partly because just hearing the humor reminds me of the humor of my youth. There's sort of a very special fencing way that seems to have transcend generation. It's just the parries and the riposte and the love and the good fun. So it's really very special. It's great to be here. This evening is even more nostalgic for me than it might have been because two of Dad's dearest friends were also being honored here tonight. Simon Pinkasov was my brother John's fencing coach, and he was also my fencing coach, and a very special person in our lives, and really a dear friend of my father's, and very good family friends. And he coached my son this past year in fencing, so it's gone several generations, so really special at that. And I'm not so close to fencing, so I don't know if all these things transcend, but my son came home, and as a great coach, Simon would call after the practices and say, what's the pain level? Can he walk? Because he should be able to walk, but he should be in pain, or his leg's in pain. And then Oliver said to me, he said, Dad, he tells me to do something, and if I do it wrong a second time, he whacks me in the head, or in the helmet. And I said, of course, I hope that's okay to say now. And, he gives him a love tap, so to speak. And I said, yeah, of course. And he said, well, what do you mean, of course? I mean, coaches don't do that. And he said, how do you know that he does that? I said, well, he used to do that to me when I made mistakes. So anyway, it's very special to me that it's transcended, moved through some generations. In addition, Nat Lubell and my dad were really great buddies. And so this brings back many memories of him. And I will pass the honors to his nephews, Johnny and David Buskin. It's really, and I have strong memories of growing up and hearing the conversations on the phone between my dad and Nat. And then when I talk about that fencing humor, a lot of it was stuff that I recognize in a lot of the joking here. Sort of very quick-witted, and it brings back real memories. To those of you who know her, my mom, Delreen Goldsmith, sends her love. She's a 30-year-old stuck in a 91-year-old body. And my brother John would have loved to have been here. He was just coordinating things. He's in Europe right now, but otherwise he would be here speaking with me tonight. He also trained with Simon, as I said, after which he was a fencer at Princeton, so he carried on the tradition. Dad picked up fencing at Stuyvesant High School and then went to CCNY, where he was also in the ROTC. As a result of making the 1952 Olympic team, he was stationed in Berlin, which is closer to Helsinki than Korea. He knew he had been spared in Germany when his family left in 1938. He reckoned that making the 1952 Olympic team spared him a boat trip to Korea. And it was a lifetime of gratitude to the country, and I think he always felt that making the team and being able to represent the country were real privileges that he had. It was remarkable to me that after 14 years after being forced to flee Germany, and then getting off a boat on Ellis Island as a refugee. He won a major Berlin fencing tournament as a lieutenant in the US Army. I think of that tournament in the context of the old German militarism and dueling scars, known as the Schmiesma, at the universities there, just the whole paradox of him being in Berlin at that time. How strange it was to be there, how strange to be an American fluent in German in Berlin, surrounded by hostile East German and Soviet troops. My dad knew how to muscle through things, and certainly through trauma. He could have been intimidated or had ugly feelings of persecution. If he had those feelings, I didn't see them. They were more than compensated for by his readiness to face any challenge and his ability to win. Like for many of you, sports opened doors for him, and probably access to a certain milieu that might have been harder to crack for a refugee kid from Washington Heights in the 1950s. And I think he felt that he fell into a sport that really created lots of opportunities and introduced him to new people and new opportunities. Mom and Dad raised us in Westchester County before moving and splitting their time between Martha's Vineyard and the Upper West Side of Manhattan across from Lincoln Center. My father had great joy being across from Lincoln Center, where he would go to the dress rehearsals on Sundays or during the afternoons and read a book while he could listen to Mozart. And they also became season tickets to the opera, which music always filled the home. Dad always loved music, books, ideas, and politics, and would often fire up the opera and rig up John and me at 6:30 in the morning on weekends, making sure we were getting into a full day, getting a full day in. I used to say that it's not the hangover that gets you, it's Dad's early morning phone calls. And he also had a rule in our house. We play lots of tennis together. I played tennis in college, and he had this rule that he didn't care if you came in at 1 or 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. He didn't care if you went out and you had drinks, but you had to be up at 7:30 and out on the tennis court for ready for play. If it was, not that there was so much drinking, but if there was a particularly rough day, it was, we'll just sweat a little bit in the first set and we'll get him in the next 2. He had a great life with my mom, which in later life entailed plowing into gardening at the Vineyard House. He was a regular recipient of ribbons for his beans, garlic, tomatoes, sunburst squash, jalapenos, and zucchini at the Martha's Vineyard Agricultural Fair each summer. He stopped fencing after his 3rd Olympics, I think to make some way for others and to move on with his life, but he continued to play sports. He was a really good softball player and baseball coach and was president of Little League. He was also a really good club tennis player, if a humble one. Once, after splitting sets during a club doubles tournament, his partner said to the other team as they passed each other, Hal's an Olympic athlete, to which the response was, well, it sure as hell wasn't in tennis. He loved that. He loved that. He did not take himself very seriously and spoke remarkably sparingly of his accomplishments. I think there are some people that didn't even know he was an Olympic fencer until it eventually came out. That was sort of part of his personality. Finally, his reflexes remained lightning fast. As a coolness factor in the town where we grew up, the toughest kids in high school, often older than John and me, loved hanging out with my dad at the ball field or at school events. He was active in the community. Back in those days, he was known for welcoming a slap fight or hot hands with the older, tougher kids. He never lost. We were all guaranteed to walk away stinging and laughing and in some considerable awe of his skill. That is some 70s and 80s stuff, probably not entirely understandable to the younger generation, but a slap fight or hot hands and things like that was pretty regular play in those days, and he was damn good at it. Most importantly, Dad brought his determination and quickness that made him a success in fencing to the rest of his life. He left a large footprint on those around him, and certainly John and me. He's missed. It is really a very special honor for me to be here for this special occasion and celebration of those who have contributed so much to this sport and to receive this honor on my dad's behalf. Thank you.
Our next inductee is a two-time Olympian, seven-time national champion, University of Pennsylvania legend. Introducing Ohio State head coach, FIE Comics member, and co-president of the U.S. Fencing Foundation, Columbus's own Don Anthony Jr.
Thank you very much. It is really a true honor to introduce Mr. Netburn. I have heard about him for many, many years. He is truly legendary. We were with a group of the 76ers and they're like, you guys haven't met yet? I said, no, I've never had that great honor. So with that, I would like to just sort of stay with script and say, Stephen Netburn, a Hall of Fame inductee in the athlete category, was one of the premier American épée fencers of his era. He was a two-time Olympian, 1968 in Mexico City and 1972 in Munich. He was a Pan American champion in 1971 in Cali, Colombia, and took home another gold in the team event. In 1969, he was épée national champion. He was a member of 7 U.S. national épée team champions, 1967, 68, 70, 71, 72, and 74, and 75 and 76 as a member of Sal Cesar, and the rest with the New York Athletic Club, the perennial champions NYAC. Stephen was introduced to fencing in his freshman year at NYU in 1961. At the time, he knew nothing about fencing and had no idea NYU was a collegiate fencing power. He wanted to play tennis for the school, but they had no freshman tennis team. All freshmen had to take a PT class, and he chose fencing simply because he thought it would at least help keep his legs in shape. And the alternative options, such as bowling, were not appealing. About a month into the PT class, the instructor, Al Pareto, well known in our sport, who was also the freshman fencing team coach, said he needed 3 volunteers for the freshman team because a couple of his recruited freshmen had become academically ineligible. Pareto asked Stephen to be one of the volunteers. It sounds like he got voluntold. He accepted, but only on the condition he get excused from the PT class. He disliked getting sweaty in the middle of the day, and Pareto agreed. Unexpectedly, he found he really enjoyed the sport. NYU, however, never captured his imagination, and going to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania seemed a better idea, so he applied and was accepted. As a transfer, he had to attend freshman orientation, which was spread over almost 2 weeks in early September of 1962. With not much to do, he wandered down to the tennis courts and was lucky to find several other players interested in hitting with him. One day, Al Malloy, the tennis coach, came by and after watching him asked if he would be interested in trying out for the team. As a walk-on, obviously, he said yes, but told the coach he was a transfer from NYU, and under then Ivy League rules, he would be ineligible to play for 1 year. Malloy said, okay, but come to the tryouts anyway, and if you make the team, you can at least practice with the team. This was a win-win for Stephen. Let me get my page turning correctly. Fortunately, he made the team and practiced with them throughout the fall. Then one day in late October, Penn's legendary fencing coach, Maestro Loyos Cesar, walked by the courts and recognized Stephen from the NYU Penn freshman match and invited him to train with the team after the fall tennis season ended. Knowing he couldn't compete until his junior year, thus began Stephen's fencing career. I can literally see Maestro making that type of introduction. It turned out Stephen was a mediocre collegiate tennis player. Although he did manage to play third doubles and win a few points for the Penn team. Nothing to write home about, but good enough to earn a varsity letter. Fencing was a different story. Cesar was a great coach, as we all know, but not simply because he knew how to teach, but because he saw the potential in an athlete and knew how to transform and build that talent into a decent competitor. Stephen would like to think he was one of Cesar's memorable achievements. In his junior year in 1964, he was second in the Eastern Collegiates, the IFAs at the time, second in the NCAA championships, and first team All-American. In his senior year, he was elected captain of the fencing team, which he asked to share with his good friend and fellow épée fencer, John McMahon. He won the Eastern Collegiate IFA, placed second in the NCAA championships, and was again first team All-American. Not too shabby to say the very least. In 2016, Stephen was elected into the University of Pennsylvania Athlete Hall of Fame. Following his graduation from Penn, Stephen went on to graduate school in England. Knowing this was his plan, Cesar gave Stephen a letter of introduction to his close friend and fellow coach, Bela Imgregre, who lived in London. The two of them had fled Hungary in 1956, with Cesar going to Philadelphia and Imgregre to London. Fencing was not high on Stephen's to-do list in London, but after 3 lonely weeks in London, there he decided to track down Imgregre at the club he coached at, the London Fencing Club, LFC, and delivered Cesar's letter. The letter was written in Hungarian, and Bela told Stephen, "Cesar thought highly of you." Since the LFC was also home to the British national team, Bela asked Stephen, "Would you like to practice with the British épée team?" That would be going to the 1965 World University Games in Budapest, home of fencing. Later that summer, he introduced him to the team, including Nick Halstead, Peter Jacobs, who we know well, and Teddy Bourne, and Steve Higginson. That's a pretty solid lineup. All of them would become lifelong friends. It was mid-July, so Stephen hadn't fenced since late March, but managed it okay. When Bela asked what he thought of the British team, Stephen was hard-pressed to say he was impressed, given that he hadn't fenced for several months and didn't find them much of a match. Stephen's recollection was that Imgregre was not pleased with this observation and asked him to get on guard for a little look-see lesson. They stopped after 10 or so minutes, and he asked Stephen to return the next night, which he did, and the rest is history. During 3 years, with the UK, he won the Sandhurst Open Épée, Sandhurst's equivalent of West Point, in 65, 66, and 67. He was second at the British University's championships in 66. As a post-grad student at the University of Southampton, he was eligible, so he competed. He won the Miller Hallett Cup in 1966, the UK's biggest épée competition. In 1967, he was second at the Granville Cup, UK's second biggest épée competition. He made the final 8 at the London Martini Rossi. Now he's really cooking, but he can't remember the year or how he finally placed. He beat the legendary Bill Hoskins, but lost to Roland Lozère and Guido Kulchar. Kulchar is a legendary name in épée fencing, 2 of the world's top épées at the time. He was part of the British épée club team champions in 1966. His best European result at a major was probably the London Martini Rossi competition, as it attracted then leading épée fencers from across Western and Eastern Europe. That was a hot tournament. Congratulations on that one. In 1967, he was elected into the épée club, the British honorary club founded in 1900 to support épée fencing in the British Isles and recognize outstanding épée fencers. At the New York Martini, he was third in 1967, second in 1970. In the 68 Olympics, he finished 13th, and in the 72 games was eliminated before the direct eliminations. However, in 1969, he won the individual national title and was a medalist several other times, winning the individual title and especially the team gold at the 1971 Cali, Columbia Pan American Games was a major fencing highlight of his career. Stephen had a great fencing career, was one of the best epee fencers in the U.S. of his generation and a very worthy addition to the Hall of Fame. Legendary in my mind, it is an honor to introduce you and welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Don. And I'd like to thank the U.S. Fencing Association and all of the members who supported my nomination and voted for me. To many of today's fencers, I'm a dinosaur. 1975, national champion, 69, that's, we're talking many years ago. But listening to the remarks about Nat and Hal and the fencers that sort of came before me, I realized that I stood on their shoulders in many ways. And at that time, the association that you know today as U.S. Fencing was the AFLA, which was a very almost volunteer operation, very little support to our athletes. People would go to the World Championships, if you can believe this, as long as they could afford to pay for the air flight. So we were not sending teams. Looking now at the transition of fencing from my day to what I see, in the convention center, I am astounded. A few years ago, our epee team won the epee World Team Championships. In my day, incomprehensible. And it's a tribute to the coaches, the Simons of this world, the Chissars. And I think all athletes never really appreciated their coaches at the time as humans at the time that they were training. I know I was guilty of that. Chissar was a great coach. Imregi in London was a great coach. Chaba Eltesh in New York was a great coach. We didn't know their backstories. Hearing Simon's story and Andre's story about how they managed their careers and what they did on behalf of their athletes. As an athlete, I didn't get into their personal life, and it's a pleasure to hear that, and it's a tribute to all coaches who have trained many of us and continue to do that. So my hat's off to them. No athlete could have ever achieved what they might have achieved of that. I'd also like to congratulate all my fellow inductees today. Yeah, I'm honored to be amongst you and hear your stories, and even Marty's. Thank you very much.
Our final inductee has spent a lifetime dedicated to fencing. Thank you. Our final inductee has spent a lifetime dedicated to fencing, mentoring the next generation following his ever-present nature on international foil teams, including several world championships. Here to tell you more is teammate and Hall of Famer, Ed and Sally Ballinger.
Martin Lang. This has been,
Martin Lang looks a lot like Steve Black.
oh, there you go. Okay. This has been a long time coming. The first time I met Marty was, can you hear me? Okay. The first time I met Marty was more than half a century ago. At that time, we would become teammates on 2 under-20 world championships. In the following years, Marty would continue to become an Olympian, then a Pan American champion, and a national champion. Today, Marty continues to be involved in fencing. He promotes fencing in his own club, the Lang Fencing Academy in Tennessee. For that matter, he has a couple of his young fencers competing here at these nationals this year. And yes, the induction has been a long time coming, but for the induction itself, it's an acknowledgement of one's accomplishments. However, more importantly, it has given Marty's family, friends, and teammates an opportunity to gather together and celebrate with him. Congratulations, Marty. And on that note, I pass the further introduction to another teammate of Marty's and my husband.
Good evening. Like Sally, I've known Marty for more than 50 years. We've been teammates in college at NYU. We were teammates at our fencing club, Sal Santelli. We fenced on world teams together. We fenced at university games. We fenced on a Pan American team. We fenced at the Olympics together. We've shared a lot of adventures together. And while I was thinking about what I would say for Martin at his induction to the Hall of Fame, I realized that I had a lot of things for which I could say thank you to Marty. So I thought I would say those thanks publicly. The first thing I wanted to thank Marty for, and I want to say this publicly, is for all of his help in helping me win all of the silver medals in team foil. His input was immeasurable. We also won a few gold medals in team foil together. Is Jeff Buchan still here? There he is. Earlier this evening, Jeff was talking a lot of smack about how good the Fencers Club team was in the 80s. Well, I'm here to tell you that our club, Marty's club and my club in Sal Santelli's in the 70s ruled. Marty won, before I even was at Sal Santelli's, immeasurable numbers of national titles in team foil. And then I came along, we won a few more together. Thanks, Jeff. He came after, he's a youngster. Okay, I have a story that I'm gonna tell, and it has many parts to it. The story starts in 1975. In 1975, both Marty and I made the Pan American team. Marty won the individual championships in the Pan American Games in 1975. And he was the first American to win in many, many years. During those games, Marty met a man by the name of Willie Davenport. That name might be familiar to some of you. Willie Davenport was an American sprinter. He competed in Sprinter hurdler, correct. His nickname was the Glide. He glided over the hurdles. He competed in 4 Olympic Games. He won 2 medals. He won the gold medal in '68, thank you, and the bronze medal in '76. Now we're going to jump up to 1976. In 1976, Marty and I, along with Ed Donofrio and Ed Wright, made the Olympic team in men's foil. We were all very happy to make the Olympic team. We're up in Montreal, we're training. We go to practice in the mornings, take lunch, go to practice in the afternoons. This is before we compete. And one afternoon, I mentioned to Marty, I was somewhat concerned about how I was going to pay my rent when we got back from Montreal. Because while we're up there training, we said we're away, we're not making any money. None of us are making any money. Marty offered some words of assurance, said, don't worry, it'll be okay. The next day after practice, Marty comes back into the room and he says to me, I saw Willie Davenport today. The track guys got their shoe money. We're playing cards tonight. So some of you are thinking, what is shoe money? Back in 1976 was still in the days of the amateur athlete. You had to be an amateur to compete in the Olympics. Today, the track guys like Noah Lyles, who's the defending champion in the 100 meters, he's already a multimillionaire from endorsements from clothing and shoes. In those days, that was strictly forbidden. You could not take money out front. The monies were given under the table. There were 2 big shoe companies in those days. They were started by 2 German brothers. Some sibling rivalry was involved in this time. There was Rudolf Dassler, who started a company by the name of Puma. And there was Adolf, nicknamed Adi Dassler, who started Adidas. And because of business rivalry and sibling rivalry, they were fighting to see to get the top athletes to wear their shoes. Hence the name shoe money. The shoe reps would pass out cash under the table as they, in the shoe boxes, wear these shoes and there's money in the shoes for wearing those shoes. So because Marty was friends with Willie Davenport, we were able to be invited to play cards with the track guys. So that evening, Marty and the 3 Eds walked over to Willie Davenport's room. And we sat down and we played cards with these track guys who were flush with shoe money. So by the time that evening was over, I had all of my rent money, plus a few dollars more. And because Marty Lang was friends with Willie Davenport, I was able to pay my rent. So thank you, Marty. Now, we're going to jump forward a few years, and we'll have another story. We forget. There was a time once, actually, we're going to jump back in time. Wait, I see something coming on here. Actually, I think I see 3 of, I'm being preempted. I see 3 of Marty's contemporaries.
No, they've already heard enough from you.
Who want to say something. I see we
I
have
know. How about Steve? He's got more to say than you do.
Steve Kaplan, Michael Tarasio, and Neil Cohen, who all fenced at the same time, been all teams with Marty, have a few words to say.
Yeah, Steve, you go and tell them.
So Marty and I grew up in a little garden apartment development way out in eastern Queens called Glen Oaks, and a block and a half apart. And we know each other since 2nd grade. So we've been friends for a long time. And we got into high school, a big regional public high school, Martin Van Buren High School. And I had aspirations as a baseball player to play baseball at Van Buren. And unfortunately, in a classic one door closing and another door opening story, I didn't make the baseball team, but I found out that Marty was going to go out for the fencing team. And I said to Marty, "You mean like Zorro?" And he said, "Yeah." So I tagged along. I was curious and I liked Zorro. And I didn't want him to do anything cool that I didn't participate in. So the two of us went to our first practice the same day, side by side, at the high school, and started our fencing careers. And I want to tell briefly a story of two of his touches as a fencer. Our big arch rival, Neil Cohn was a fencer there, was Jamaica High School. And in our second year of fencing, now we're on the varsity fencing team, and it's our first high school match, Van Buren versus Jamaica High School. I'm scared out of my wits. I can't even tell you what happened in my first bout. I didn't win. Marty has his first bout, and it's 4-4. Marty's a lefty. He's being attacked. He closes his eyes, sticks his arm out, and wins the fight. Now, I got to be fair. I got to be fair to Marty. He closed his eyes and he stuck his arm out at the perfect time and in the perfect distance. Okay? Flash forward about 8 years later, Pan American Games, Mexico City, 1975. Marty is in the final bout against the overwhelming favorite, a Cuban by the name of Johns. Overwhelming favorite to win the gold medal in the foil. 4-4. John's attacking Marty. Marty's trying to find the blade, can't find it. Johns hits him in the arm, off target. Close. On guard. Now there's a little, 8 seconds interval there. Maybe his better angel said to Marty in a voice, close. Give him the Jamaica High School counterattack. Johns come forward in the attack. Marty closes his eyes. One light, perfect distance, perfect timing, gold medal.
Hi, so Marty and I go back a long time. I'm from Massachusetts, and he knew my coach, Joe Paczynski, so he treated us really well. Now, Marty, I'm going to pay you back because Marty is one of the few fencers that I competed against that I don't believe I ever won. I think you beat me every single time. But then again, I might be wrong because I might be having an elderly moment. So I have a message from a group of people that was from NOBA. There was a fencing club in Berkeley. I will not tell you what NOBA means because that would not be appropriate because we have some minors in here. And our national championships at the time, and I was no longer fencing competitively on a national level, but it was a little bit different than the way it is today because the nationals were held in the gymnasium in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy. It was just a gymnasium. I mean, for crying out loud, you get like how many people? 100 people in there? So the team that I was interested in, even though the Santelli team was my friends, won the national championship, the team event the year before. Now, they were very fortunate that they had Ioan Drimba on that team, who was from Romania, who was the Olympic champion. So that helped quite a bit. So now we're talking about 40, 50 years ago, and it was before cell phones and everything. And unfortunately, we had people like Marty and the other people on the Santelli team. I will not tell you who they were. And we didn't have cell phones, so they all arrived late and were told that they couldn't fence by, some of you don't know these names, but Carla Mae Richards said, no, you cannot fence because you're too late. So I've been known as a prankster, and I have known to do some stuff, and I wanted to get Marty one time in my life. I wanted to win. So I went to one of the fences on a team. You have to remember, this is like such a long time ago. This is not things you would do today. So I go up to my close friend, Peter Bouchard, who fences for Nova. And I say, Peter, do you guys want to fence? Because I know how I can get you in the tournament, even though you've been told that you can't fence because you're all late. And they said, what? I says, just go up to the table, and I'm looking at Marty. Marty's over here. Here's the Santelli team, and here's Carla May at the bench and tables. And I said, go up and tell her you got a blowout on the way to the tournament, because how are you going to communicate? Marty didn't trust me, so he was looking at me really funny for some reason, and I was going to set him up. So what does he do? Peter goes up to Carla May, and most of you would not believe this, but years ago, a national championship or all fencing tournaments, when the organizers were doing it, it was on index cards, no computers. So everything is da, 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 da. So Peter goes up and Marty goes like this, and I'm watching. He's going like this. And Marty makes the mistake that I was hoping he would make. And he said, Carla, the Sal Santelli team, we will allow them to fence. We're okay as long as they can produce the tire. What a mistake. So now all of a sudden, Carla May also makes a mistake. And she says, okay, you bring the tire and put it on my table. Okay. Now I walk out. Now Peter, for some of you who don't know him, is like 6'5" and I'm 5'6". He's like, you know. And we walk out of the gymnasium, and and he's like walking over, and he says, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? He's panicked, and I want to make him scared. And I open up my trunk of my Volkswagen Bug, and the week before, I got a blowout because I lived in Denver. So I got to blow out my car, and damn it, I just couldn't afford to fix it. I didn't have any money then. So I told Peter, I said, I'll give you the tire on one condition. What's that? You walk into the room and you go like this, and you pick up the tire and you go, and you put it on Carla May's desk, because that's what she said. Put the tire down on the desk. The index cards go flying all over the place. The tournament didn't start for another hour later because she had to redo everything. And Carla asked me a few years later, did I have anything to do with that? And I admitted that I did, because I was with her and her former husband, Ed. But anyways, Marty, thank you very much. I finally beat you.
Hi, I'm Neil Cohen, and I have the ignominious distinction of being the last speaker in a long night of speakers. So I will do my best to accelerate this. But I do have the microphone, so be careful. Oh, that's true. Marty might get to speak. First, I want to congratulate my great coach and friend, Simeon Pinkasov, for making it to the Hall of Fame. And I'm in a difficult position here because Marty and Ed and Sally and all these Santelli people are great friends of mine. And Simeon and the Fencers Club was my home. And I would just like to point out that Mr. Buchanan was speaking about things in the 80s, but in the 70s, we won the national championship in 1975 when we beat Santelli in 1980. Simeon was our coach.
I wasn't there.
We beat Santelli. Okay, that's just a little historical correction. Now about Marty. I've known Marty, like everybody else here, I've known Marty since we were in high school in Queens. I've known him as an adversary, as a training partner, as a teammate, and as a close friend. And I can summarize Marty's personality and character in each of those relationships in one word: annoying. But like all of us, Marty is multidimensional. And while his personality may be annoying, he has many skills. And unlike Liam Neeson, who just has one particular set of skills, Marty has a wide variety of skills. Obviously, he's a great fencer. You've all heard about all of that. And that's why we're here tonight. In his youth, he was a terrific hockey player. I never saw him play hockey, but this is what he tells me. He was also a scratch golfer. He may still be a scratch golfer. And of this, I have personal experience. A few years ago, Marty and Susan moved to Colorado, and Marty said, let's go play some golf. I play golf, but I'm terrible. And we went out and we played, and Marty saw how terrible I was. And he said, you know, you're a very good fencer. There's no reason for you to be a lousy golfer. I will make you a great golfer. So we spent a year at driving ranges and putting greens and all this crap. And we'd go out and we'd play golf. One time we're playing golf, and on the 17th hole, Marty's he's playing, but he's mostly coaching me. And I hit my first shot, a drive, and it goes 170 yards or something, and right in the middle of the fairway. Hit my second shot, and it's my typical 50-yard ground ball dribbler. So Marty decides I need a little more coaching. So he comes up, and he's correcting my stance and getting my aim right and my grip and all this crap. And I hit the ball. And the sun's in my eyes. I have no idea where it goes. So, Marty, you know where the ball is? He goes, yeah, I think so. Come on, let's go. Well, where'd it go? Just come on. And so I follow him. We get onto the green. There's nothing there. He walks up to the pin, looks down, he points to the cup, and there's my ball. Never done anything like that before. Never done anything like that since. But I hit a 110-yard shot right in the cup. So I will say this. Marty is annoying, but he has certain skills. And you all know about fencing, but I'm here to tell you that as a golfer and a golfing coach, he's terrific. So congratulations, my brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, our last inductee, Martin Ira Lang.
No problem. Hello. Hello. You were wonderful. I don't want to. Okay. Yo. Yeah. I heard great applause when they said that Neil was the last speaker. I heard great applause. Yes, I'm preempted. But you know what? I'm here. What the heck? My two boys are here. My little granddaughter is here. It's hard to believe. I've been around for, let's see. Don't laugh over there, Mr. Mormondo. I've been around at least 3 or 4 years. Okay? 3 or 400 years. It's okay. I have some pictures. I do things a little bit differently. They were supposed to be up there one at a time, so now they're up there for a while. I'm just going to talk about pictures. I'm not talking about me. I'm going to talk about how great these people are in the pictures. So if you look at that first picture on the left, you see that one young lady there? You see that young lady? Sally, stand up, please. Sally, stand up. That was at JFK Airport, right before we left for the 1968 Junior World Championship. And do you know in 1968, the youngest fencer at that time to make the United States Olympic team was Sally Paczynski. And there she was there. So we all thought we were hot stuff. We were nothing compared to what Sally was. Sally, we followed in your footsteps,
And I'm glad you finally taught Ed how to be a good fencer. And that's a fantastic thing. Okay, so what about the picture next to it? So the picture next to it is the 1968 National Foil Team Champions. That's on the left is Uriah Jones, Bobby Russell, and myself. You know what? That was me carrying the old men. They couldn't do anything without me. And Ed's wrong. I didn't just give them silver medals because we happened to win. And it was lucky because I was on the team with them. They had nothing to do with it, even though they were Olympians and national champions, but it was me. And you know what? When Giorgio asked me, Giorgio Santelli, the coach at Santelli, asked me to be on the team, there was a bit of grumbling. What is this young punk doing on the team? Because we had so many great fencers there. And yet I stayed on the team for quite a few years. Okay, so by the way, that event started at 10 o'clock in the morning. Anyone want to guess what time it ended? 4 a.m. Oh, you remember, Michael, 4 a.m. 4 a.m. is when it ended. That's why those old guys look so tired. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So the next picture is the 19. That's not right. Oh, that's all right. The next picture is at the 1969 World Championships, which was in Havana, Cuba. We had to get our entry through the Czechoslovakian embassy, and we went into Mexico. We couldn't fly directly to Cuba. It was awful. We flew in on a plane, and I sat in a cabin with more chickens, hens, and goats flying into Mexico City. And it's true. And who was meeting us at the airport but none other than Fidel Castro. Why was that? Because we had, at that time, they actually brought some Cuban prisoners on that plane with us that the Americans made an exchange for. So Fidel wasn't there to see us. He was there to get his prisoners back. But anyway, the two pictures there was me of fencing, and I fenced rather well. That was the time that I did beat Jan Drimba and TU, who was also a finalist. So, you know, I had a good day. That's okay. Can we go to the next set? Okay, so this is here on the left. The one on the left, it's the 1969 Junior World Championships. I'm accepting, believe it or not, a medal from this gentleman, and this was in Genoa, Italy, for 10th place. Now, no one knew what 10th place was, but you know what? 10th place, it's like awful. That's the highest anyone had been until Ed Ballinger finished. What were you, fifth? Sixth, excuse me, until Ed Ballinger came along and he finished sixth. Ruth was third the day before. Okay, so I was nothing, but that's me accepting. Look at that. That's the only sport jacket that I ever owned, and it was pretty cool. So the next picture is the 1969. What is it? No, it's not. Yeah, it's 1970. That's right. It's me, Vinny Certi, Uriah Jones, Bobby Russell. Anyway, we won again, Jeff. Hi, guys. Okay, so that last one, believe it or not, that gentleman was the best foil fencer in the United States at the time. Anyone know who it was? Ty Simmons, the absolute best. I'm going to divert a second and tell you a story. Al Pareto was the assistant coach at NYU. At that time, it was a round robin at the NCAAs. I don't know if there was, I think 32 teams. We all fenced each other, and it was 2 days, okay? First day, I lost a bout. Ty didn't lose anything. So here it is the second day. Ty still is undefeated. I have one loss. we're about to fence each other. Al calls me over and says, Marty, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to stop the competition. We're going to announce that you're going to fence Ty. Everyone is going to come on over and watch. Ty is going to choke. He's going to choke. He's going to go away. You're going to you're going to beat him, and you're going to win the NCAAs. So, as you could tell, oh, by the way, he said I beat him 5-0. He was right in 2 out of those 3. Ty beat me 5-0 in 25 seconds. He won the tournament, and look at him standing there, me looking up at him saying, you son of a, can I say it? That's Ty Simmons, best foil fencer in the United States at that time. Just want you to know. Okay. Next, could you flip the next one? Great. Next one is the 1973 World University Games. It was in Moscow. And there's Al Pareto on the left, and then it's Haik Hambarzumian, Ed Ballinger, John Nona, myself, and Dave Littell. All of those gentlemen were pretty good. And by the way, next to Dave Littell is Mike DiCicco, one of the greatest people in the world, the coach at Notre Dame at the time. Yes, sir, Mr. McKay. I go like that too. Do you have anything nice to say about him, Michael? He was the best. He absolutely was the best. So between Pareto and DiCicco, they kept us all in line. Okay, so the next picture is my childhood buddy, Steve Kaplan, and with a brand newcomer into the game of fencing, his name is Peter Westbrook. Brand new. He had no idea what he was doing. And they asked me not to fence saber so we can give Kaplan and Westbrook a chance to compete. Isn't that right, Steve? What are you doing? What are you doing? Isn't that right, Steve? Okay, so there we are. We're in Moscow. And that last picture is me with Zhemek Wojciechowski. Anyone know who that is? Yeah. Okay. You do? Who is he? That's exactly right. He wasn't bad, was he? I told you we do things differently here. So notice the bell bottoms we were wearing, very stylish. And yes, that's in Red Square. That's pretty exciting. Huh? That's pretty exciting. Could the next set of slides, please? There we are. Look, and then that newcomer, Peter Westbrook again, with Steve Kaplan. They took pictures without me because the saber crowd was where it's at, right, Mr. Momento? The saber crowd is where it's at. So we were left to do our own thing. No problem. Teammates. Now, this next picture is pretty interesting because this is at the 1975 Pan American Games. That is the greatest picture that I've ever seen. Notice how I am hitting my opponent. Think about it. I'm hitting him square in his back as he's trying to run away from me. No, that wasn't the test before the bout started, but that was an Argentinian trying to run away from me. What an unbelievable touch. And then the next slide is unfortunate. Here is my 400-pound teammate, Ed Ballinger, jumping into my arms. Look at him, jumping into my arms. By the way, you all saw how big Ed is. When a 400-pound human being runs and jumps into your arms, I was done.
I think you talk about your bio.
Oh, yeah, something like that. So could you go to the next one, please? So look at this, Steve Kaplan and myself, right after the victory. And yes, that was taken out of a newspaper, so it's not a great shot. And then the slide next to it was one of my proudest moments when they played the Star Spangled Banner. The flags were in back of us, and I was watching the crowd. I saw tears. Pretty unbelievable. But the greatest joy was having the gentleman to my left and to my right, the two Cubans, also crying. Not because the Star Spangled Banner was playing, crying because they did not achieve what they set out to do. And those were two fantastic fencers. Fantastic. Okay, last picture there, and I hate to show, I never show losing pictures, but this is what it was. This is the award ceremony at the 1976 National Championship in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. If you can look closely at my hands, look closely. On my right hand is a cast from my elbow. You can't see? I'm closing my hand. And my left hand is a great big bandage. It's a great big bandage. How did that great big bandage get there? Well, my good friend Ed Ballinger, who teammates, it's all lie. Teammates always fence first. First bout in the finals, Ed decided that he was going to, he couldn't beat me. Well, I never beat him, but he decided that he was going to rip my hand apart. So I made a great lunge attack and he parried my hand. He didn't parry the blade, he parried my hand. So, okay, I pulled my glove off to make sure. I am. So wait till he says, so the blood is dripping and Ed says, "You little punk, it's only a scratch. Get back on guard." Do you remember saying that, Edward? You didn't say, you said it in a much nastier tone, Edward. That's all I'm going to say. So, don't be a baby is what he said. Okay, there's no problem. So, now here's a little story. So I end up at the Cherry Hill Hospital that night. Okay, so I ended up at the Cherry Hill Hospital. Now, if anyone knows Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Saturday night, 12 o'clock, okay? I have to wait in line behind the gunshot wounds, the stabbing, and it's a true story. And I had a little cut on my hand. No big deal. So what do you think I got in to see the doctor? Right, 4 a.m. 4 a.m. I was in that waiting room for 4 hours. Could someone throw him out? Okay, so I got into with the surgeon, with whoever he was, the doctor, and he says, "Oh, okay, fine. That's 6 stitches underneath and 12 stitches, no big deal." I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I have to report at 10 o'clock in the morning to the medical commission to be named to the United States Olympic team. And if I have stitches, knowing Marius Valsamis, he'll say, you can't compete." So I begged him, please don't stitch my hand. Please don't stitch my hand. He said, "What do you mean? You need a lot of stitches. You need 12 stitches. And then he was looking at what I was wearing. I came right from the competition. So in order to get him to write a note to say that I didn't need stitches, didn't get any, see this shirt? He made me take it off of my body, give it to him. Do you think I was blackmailed by a doctor? Absolutely was. Now, this wasn't the one. I had another one. I had to give him my Pan Am Lucky shirt to make sure that he wrote a note to say, I put a double butterfly on there. He didn't need any stitches. 10 o'clock in the morning, Marius read it, said, fine, you're now on the Olympic team. So this doctor, because of this shirt, was able to get me on the Olympic team, which was really very nice. That's why I show that picture. Could you go to the next one, please? Who are these people here? Anyone know who that person is in the far left? Albie Axelrod. Anyone know who's next to him? Oh, that's me. Anyone know who's next to him? Uriah Jones. Next to him, Ed Ballinger. Next to him, Bert Freeman. Do you know all 5 of these gentlemen were national champions? This is a typical New York City Open. This is what we did every week. 5 national champions, Olympians. That's why we elevated ourselves. This is very, very, very typical. Now, I like to travel in style when I went to competitions. You see that next picture? So here's what I did. I enlisted my good friend Neil Cohen, who's waving out there, and we traveled together to all competitions. You see the carpet on the top, you see the U-Haul. We went to every single city like that because I wanted to be comfortable. Okay, true story is that was when Neil and I helped Neil move across the country to Boulder, Colorado. And we were in a car with a big puppy and a little cat and no air conditioning and try to go uphill and you'd go from 60 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. Is that true, Neil? And did the car break down once or twice? Thank you, Neil. Okay, so, and the last picture was my day/night job. And by the way, that's Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan. So I used to call them Ron and Nan. I invited them to dinner. So they came to dinner. I was at the Washington Hilton at the time. And you know what? I did a lot of that. And that really is Ronnie and friends. Can we get the last one, please? For the next one? Okay, this is a surprise party. Surprise birthday party. Anyone know those people? They're all pretty famous. And they surprised me. Neil came in from Colorado, flew to Maryland. They came in and they, one at a time came in, and it was just one of the most flattering things I've ever seen. And then the next picture, believe it or not, years later, one of my insane teammates decided that the 1976 Olympic team was going to make a 25-year reunion at the 2001 National Championships. That wasn't me. I hadn't picked up a foil in 25 years. Okay, well, 20 years. So when Steve Netburn said that he was like, oh, my back, oh, my, we couldn't walk for a month after that. But believe it or not, we qualified for the Nationals. And don't ask us how we did. All I could say is that when we fenced this kid team, they said, oh, my father loves you guys. Fantastic. Look at that next picture. That is by far the best thing that's ever happened to me. Getting married for the last time for me and for the first time for Susan. Thank you, Susan. The best thing I ever did. Could you flip the next one, please? See? No, where is she? Okay, she's not there. Anyway, you see this picture of a young Marty and 2 young kids? So if you look back at that table, those 2 gentlemen, by the way, could you 2 gentlemen stand up for a minute? Stand up. Those are my little kids. What do you think? It's called Cute, Cuter, Cutest, and Very Handsome. Thank you guys for coming. Susan doesn't want, thank you, Susan. No, stand up now. Okay. So older and wiser, and they are quite handsome. So last picture, last one, please. Those are my lifelong fencing buddies playing in Colorado. We're playing. We're at Neil's house. We're playing. And what's that next picture? Andy, how did you get in there? Andy snuck in a slide. I didn't put it in there, but Andy has to be wherever he goes. It's ridiculous. And the last one. Ready? See those people back there? Could you 2 stand up, please? Gabriel and Gianna, the future of American foil fencing. And I guarantee you, they really are the future of American foil fencing. I want to thank everyone. I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. Sincerely, thank you for staying awake. It was hard for me. Take care of yourself. Bye. Let's get out of here.
Congratulations, Marty. And to close us out, Hall of Fame Chair Steve Hondo.
Thank you. Hello? Are you sure? Are you positive? Really? Hold on a sec. Marty, there's been a recount by the committee. Hold on. Give it to him. Oh, gosh, guys. Okay, this is going to be quick. I've been doing this fencing thing for about 50 years after I got out of the Navy. 40 some odd years as a referee, 42 years as coach at NYU. My knees, my arthritis, everything pretty much put a kibosh on most of that. Then I realized, hey, I love history. I love the fact that, you know, there was an Olympic medalist in fencing that was on the Titanic. He survived. Of course, he became a coward, and as Steve might know, he was also had to go in front of the Admiralty because he was royalty and got in a bit of trouble for the rest of his life. You know, Marty's familiar with that. There was a fencer that's an Olympic gold medalist. It's president of a country. Was president of a country. Anyone know what country? Hungary. Hungary. There you go. George Patton was a fencer. He was a pentathlete, but he was also a fencer. He lost the Olympics. Do you know what event he lost it in? No, shooting. He contends that he put the bullet in the same hole twice. But that's the way it went. I've really enjoyed doing this job, and I hope to do it into the future. Hope to see you all in Minneapolis. It's been fun. That's it, Milwaukee. I knew it was there. It's been fun. It's been a joy. And I wish you all well as you leave this evening. But remember what Simon said earlier. Take your daggers and swords because, you know, Marty's still out there. Have a good night.
So they can bring.
Thank you.